Hello and welcome to the Grassroots Hotline. This week we are delighted to be joined by James Carter, who is Club Secretary at Linthwaite FC. James, thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you, Rohan. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Brilliant. So I actually came across Linthwaite FC on Facebook, starting off on a slight negative note, but I saw a Facebook post from Linthwaite about some vandalism that occurred. So could you just tell us about that to start with?
Yeah, so we recently purchased multiple pairs of goals. So if we ever have, any cash left over from fundraising, we always try to ensure that it's delivered into making the experience better for coaches, players, spectators. So we had some funds from last season. So we used a grant through the Football Foundation for the Football Goals Grant to purchase some additional goals. Because of the wet weather that we've had, it took us quite a long time to put the goals together, or find time when it was dry and not cold to put the goals together. So we did that. We make sure all the goals are kind of stored safely, and unfortunately on Monday morning, one of our coaches was walking his dog on the football fields, and it was about 7:30. My WhatsApp pinged, and I got sent a picture of a pair of 9v9 goals where one of them had been snapped in half, and that's a £1,300 investment that had only been used once, and there was face down. And at first we thought it was the crossbar that was snapped, but thankfully it was just the stability bar at the back. Yeah. But you still need the stability bar to keep it safe. So it was frustrating because we had a pair of 9v9 goals that we put in situ, fixed into the ground. We had to remove them because they'd been damaged previously. So then we bought these as an addition where they could be locked away to prevent them from being damaged, and they also got damaged. So, but these things are here to test us, and you hope by sharing it on social media, it's not too. Okay, yeah, you share the positives, you also share the negatives, but hopefully if the people who have done it see the effect that it has, they'll think about doing it again.
Well, what struck me is in the comments to that post, there were so many people saying, let me know if there's anything we can do, or message me, I might be able to help. Yeah. I mean, that must have been really reassuring, but also gratifying in terms of the work that you've done on cultivating that community at Linthwaite.
Yeah, it was overwhelming, and I felt under pressure because I was at work for the week, and all these messages were pinging in, and trying to keep on top of them. Not as to follow up with them, but just to say thank you for reaching out. And we had other football clubs local to us that said, if you need any help, let us know. So the football community was coming together, and then the community, individuals in the community offering support. And in the end, one of our parents works at a company in Huddersfield called Sellers Engineering, and we took the part off the goals, gave it to them, and they've basically replicated exactly the same bar, painted it, sprayed it white, put the holes in all the right places, so you wouldn't even tell it was a different, a brand new part. And they've also made us some spares, so at no cost, which was.
I think that's something that people don't talk about enough. And we talk about it a lot, which is like the football community and the football family. Yeah. And I feel like it gets pelters in the press quite a lot, and you read about it and you think that's not what football really is. That's the 1/10 of the time. It's maybe some negative story that happens in the heat of the moment. Yeah. But I think the reality with grassroots football is it's this incredible team-spirited kind of ecosystem or community that lives within wider society, where everyone does still come together to want to help each other. Isn't it absolutely mad? It's amazing.
I had a moment where I was driving home from a meeting with the FA. So we have just transitioned from a freestyle accredited club to a new platform called Thriving Community Clubs. And as volunteers, we've got KPIs to hit for the FA. And I was driving home in my car thinking, who's the idiot here? We're volunteers in our own time, out of work, away from our wives, children. having to meet KPIs as volunteers for the FA, but we do it for the community, we do it for the children, and we don't get paid to do it. And they say not all heroes wear capes, but it's a special kind of people that are involved in grassroots football. And we all know the figures, the amount of children playing football in the UK. That wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for I often get called an idiot.
If it wasn't for you, people like you, to be honest.
Yeah, I have to get called an idiot for the amount of hours that we put in. But what we do, what other coaches do, shape young people's future. And we're probably all of a generation where, as teenagers, phones were just coming in. We'd go out, we'd know where our friends were, what we were doing. We'd talk about school and where we meet. Now, a lot of them don't want to leave the home because they've got PlayStations, Xboxes, whatever games consoles. They've got mobile phones attached to the hand every second of the day. And when that child, or when the children are with their coaches on a match day at training, they don't have a phone in the hand. They're having to interact. They're learning life skills that came to us as teenagers and children, where now it's a different generation. So we're enabling them to have an advantage of life skills that have probably changed over time.
So I was doing a bit of research before we met and a bit into your story in Linthwaite. And one thing that was clear to me was the amount of work you do in the community. Like, I believe you got involved with Linthwaite in 2021, became club sec in 2021, been involved for a bit longer, but also you do a lot of charity work. I saw you did a sleep out for homelessness.
Yeah.
Every December, you've been running a Santa Claus 250 kilometres, 10k a day for 25 days. Can I ask you where your motivation comes from? Like, it might just be something inherent within you that you can't put your finger on, but why do you want to help people so much? Because that's what is clear from the outside.
Personally, from my point of view, I think a lot of it is involved in your upbringing and how you've been up and seeing the struggles that your parents have gone through. I say struggles, just life, really, life in general. The positives and negatives. You see that, and I had a fantastic upbringing. Hard upbringing, normal, I'd say, but my parents were always there. My family were always there, and they did quite a bit in the community and were involved in community groups and things like that. And on a personal level, I always believe in, you need to do something, you need to do the action, you need to show what you're doing, and hopefully, if my children see what I do on a day-to-day basis and the things that I've done, and I won't say how easy it is, but it is easy to make a difference. Talking about running Santa, I never ran apart from playing football, and I'm not the best at football. I'm very good at strategy. Playing football, I'll always go in defence, so that kind of shows my football ability. But I never ran a full kilometre until COVID, and the company that I worked for, because they knew people were sat at home and you got your 1 hour of day exercise, they started an initiative to get people out. And it was, if you ran a kilometre, that they'd plant a tree. So my running journey started from there. And I became addicted to running because it was the hour a day that you got out and the enjoyment of just having free mind space. And that then got me to running 10 kilometres a day. And I was having a conversation with my children, because I still run in football shorts, football t-shirts. I don't see myself as a runner.
Pads as well.
Full kit, yeah. I don't see myself as a runner, but I am, basically. And we were talking about lighting myself up in the darker nights, and my two boys basically saying, "Oh well, you should get some Christmas lights, wrap yourself in Christmas lights." And then it was like, "Why don't you dress up as Santa?" And it was like, "All right." And then from there, it was like, okay, we thought of the idea of creating it into a fundraiser. And I'll be honest, I've done a lot in life, and I was stood there at 5 o'clock dressed as Santa with a Bluetooth speaker attached to me playing Christmas music with flashing lights. Like, what the hell am I doing? I'm gonna run past people. They're gonna be like, "What the hell is that?" I questioned myself at least 3 times before I left my front door. But I think just by showing that you're making a difference and helping the community, and to be honest, from my point of view, I was doing what I was doing anyway. I was running the 10 kilometers. Okay, not dressed in a Santa suit with all the kind of like restrictions of lights and speakers to get yourself injured, but I was doing it anyway, and I just pressed on from that. So, but kind of back to the question in a long-winded way. People talk about like leaving a legacy. I've always said, wherever I work, wherever I live, I want to walk around and I don't want to avoid people. That's it, really. I don't want. You can't please everybody, but I like to live. I like to walk around where I live, not having to hide, and just be known as being all right to an extent.
Well, by the sounds of it, you've definitely achieved that. I mean, you've raised something like over £10,000 from doing your
not more
running. How much would you say you've raised?
Don't undersell it.
So he was due. It's a bit like Batman, really. So I always talk about running Santa in the second tense. He raised over 20 grand. So he hit £20,000. And last year I was driving to Newcastle and back, so 260-mile round trip to go to work. Literally chucking my suit off and doing the run, and it killed me. Like every week, my friend's a deep tissue massage therapist, and I was going to him on a Wednesday to get me through to the end of the week. And I said at that point, right, £20,000 over a 5-year period is it's
amazing.
It's really good going.
It's amazing.
And I announced his retirement.
Held a press conference.
The local press was like, you need to put the face to it, which I never wanted to do.
Oh, so did people not know initially that it was you?
No, so my friends and people in the football club knew, but even still to this day, like I'll go somewhere and they'll talk about running Santa, and I'll be like, that's running Santa. I'm like, really? So
this can be the big reveal as well. For people that didn't know.
Wow.
But I like that because I don't do it for me.
Yeah.
And I didn't want the identity to kind of come out and overshadow it, because I wanted it to be about sharing Christmas spirit and doing something good for the community without, I need to wear this in the right way, but you sometimes see things on social media where people do stuff for the good and they film it.
Egotistical.
And I didn't want it to be about that. So I just wanted to kind of just to do it. So anyway, it got to November last year, and I was like, the food bank, like, they're going to find it hard because nobody donates money in December. And I was seeing posts where they'd had to move locations, higher costs, everything else. And I was still running every day. So I was like,
bringing back out of retirement.
I'm going to have to do it. But I felt bad because I'd been on ITV and the news as him saying I was retiring. And I was just like, all right, I'm doing it again. So I did it again this year. I think it raised over £3,000. So we're at about £24,000. And now, so on the left leg, I've got a tattoo with 5 years of the running route, and some pictures that are quite that I like from the 5 years. So now I'm going to have to do something on the other leg. So he's probably going to have to stay for another 5 years if my body can withstand
Big picture of Santa's face.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's so good.
One thing that strikes me, and linking this back to grassroots football, and sort of our mission with Centre Circle is to sort of help volunteers, because volunteer numbers are decreasing, but football is as popular as ever. We're expecting more teams in the next few years, more kids playing football. And that's going to need the next generation also to step up and become volunteers.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that, I think from what I see at younger generations, there's more emphasis on being individual, being entrepreneurial, and less focus on helping your community. Do you think, like, do you agree with that?
So, young people need help. And, what I've noticed over the 6 years of being secretary is, grassroots from under 7s to under 13s is the numbers, the participation numbers are huge. You get to 14s, 15s, 16s, 17s, 18s, it drops off. But then what do they do? What do they do from there? And where we are, there's kind of two local football clubs within our vicinity that have like Saturday football teams. But the class from Sunday League to that Saturday is vast. And for the players that want to still remain in sport or that are going on to do sport in further education, what do they do? So we've got a lot of, let's say, teenagers doing the GCSE years, year 10, that are helping us with coaching, that are coming through as young referees. So you've got to put something in front of them to assist them.
Yeah.
And the long game is, so we've got one of our open age players, that is 18. He's just had a child, and I'm like, yes, 5 years future coach. Right? And that's how I look at it from there. And it's a bit. It goes back to what I was saying before about, I want to walk around the area or where I live and, not have to hide. If you've treated people right, you've looked after them, they'll come back. They'll come back to you. So when they have children, just keep on going. And as a club, I don't necessarily worry about the future and volunteers, because we've got 74 as we sit here now.
I think that's the thing is when it comes to grassroots football, because those kids have had such a good experience, touch wood, in football as a whole, generally speaking, they want to give back to something that they had a good experience with when they were younger, and they associate that with times when there was no stress, didn't have to think about anything. It was just, when am I training, when am I playing, and I'm with all my mates. So I think you're right when it comes to that kind of cycle as well, and like the evolution of it. I think the other thing that really strikes me is the amount that you do for the local community and for everybody around it, and just the amount that you take in your stride, and you don't even see it as doing much. And in reality, there's like 400 kids that you've now given life skills to, that, you mentioned before that kids maybe are sat at home and things like that. What for parents, and some of the parents we speak to, they say, oh, it's great because they know where their kid is. It's terrible because they have no idea what they're doing. And it's really hard to police. And actually they would almost prefer it where their kid was going back out or going in a safe space. And generally speaking, that is around a football pitch. Because at least if they're off on the town or whatever, you don't know what's going on. Whereas on a football pitch, it's structured, there's infrastructure in place, and it's nice and easy. And I feel like the fact that you give so many children that opportunity, and you've grown it from when you took over, you mentioned it was about 100 players.
100 players.
To now over 400, 406.
406. If anybody...
It is unbelievable.
If you ask anybody, I can tell you exactly every figure. I'm very...
But I'm interested, how did you do that? Because for a lot of grassroots clubs out there, that they come to us and they say either they're struggling with certain things, and a lot of it is around growth, and they say they want to grow, but they aren't sure how. And it could be because there's not enough volunteers, but it could also be because they're not sure how to get the word out there, and they need the players to facilitate everything else. How did you do it?
So going back to the beginning, obviously, so my journey, we'll start there quickly. I'll go into grassroots was... So my eldest son, who's 18, started football at under 8s. So he missed under 7s, going to football at under 8s. I knew the coach, fantastic guy. Still speak to him to this day. Really, really lovely bloke. We've played a game away. Halfway through the game, one of the parents was shouting, having a go at him. This is 10 years ago. So it shows that things don't change.
Yeah.
And at half-time, he said, I've had enough. And he walked off, came over to me and said, can you do me a favour? Can you finish the game? I was like, crap. So took the team, finished the result.
You were thrown right in the deep end.
Yeah. Kind of like spoke to the parents and addressed the situation. Then went to the club and said, like, this has happened. I'm happy to take on the team. What do we need to do? And that went from there to then doing the treasurer's role, then into the secretary role, and pushing on from there. But we've as a club that's 42 years old, that generated with one team. In we've come a long way. And when I took the club on, I wanted to call us Linthwaite Wanderers, because up until 5 years ago, we hadn't played football in our village for 10 plus 15 years.
Facilities or?
Yeah, facilities, location. We live in West Yorkshire, Huddersfield. Everything is a hill. And if there's flat land, unfortunately, it's been built on.
Yeah.
So, finding any land, and we was at a point where we had one base, which was a high school, where we'd still be there now. But obviously, they don't own the land. There's FM companies. And it's an absolute tangled web that I've had to untangle over recent years. And we were informed in October of a season that we could no longer use it. So we had to go to another facility.
We hear so many, even that's like the one in Denton.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, Wes from Kirkham as well, in terms of having to play outside of where they're actually from. The whole point behind his mission as well.
Yeah, so we had a base. It wasn't ideal, but it was a good base. So then we had to move away from there, which to another school, which was further away, and we'd gone from paying like £3,000 for grass fees to like £9,000. And we got to the season, it's like, this isn't sustainable.
Yeah.
Numbers had dropped to make it even worse, because we'd moved further away from the area. We dropped down to 100. So there was myself, the current secretary, and the chairman. That we all said, right, we'll all focus on one area each. So I focused on the high school where we're based now. The previous secretary focused on the school where we were, and then we tried to find alternative routes. So it took me 18 months to going back and forth with the school, with the landowner, with the facility management company, to work out a plan of bringing the club back to Linthwaite using Combe Valley High School. All parties were fantastic, really focused on getting what's best for the children, but that involves red tape, T's and C's, everything else.
And can I ask as well, so when you're talking here about the schools, this is about getting the facility again, right? It's not about getting into the school to grow the club, or does that kind of come later?
This is basically just getting kids on grass.
Okay.
This is also it is. So at the point, we come up with like a 2-year bit of a strategy with them, because their pitches hadn't been used hadn't been maintained. They've been cut, marked, things like that, but they hadn't been developed, let's say.
Yeah.
But schools don't have funds to develop them. So there was 2 large drainage systems around the pitches, where we are 3/4 of the way down a hill. So all the water comes from a golf course down to us, and all the golf course has done is get all the water from them down to our level. All we've done is get it from there
down a bit further.
So there has been some flooding in Linthwaite, and I hold no responsibility of. But the canal is slightly higher than what it used to be. But we dug all the drainage systems out over 2 months. We found bottles of pop crisp packets from like early 2000s. So it shows the last time that this had been done, and that enabled us then. So when the water came down the hill, somewhere for it to go to use the pitches. So we did all this hard work, just to get, this is before anybody even kicked the ball.
This is why I was so interested, because the amount of people that would see a football match going on a pitch and just assume that it is a patch of grass. You have simply just said, we're taking that between 9 and 11 on a Saturday, that's ours, and you just crack on and you tell the kids where to go.
Yeah.
But the amount of work that you have had to do, and the amount of hoops you've had to jump through to get to a point just where kids can go play a football match.
Yeah.
And the amount of time and capacity that must have taken from you to learn a new skill, and the end result of it is for no benefit whatsoever for you.
No.
It's so that these children and their parents have somewhere to go on a weekend.
Yeah. And so off that, so the grass side was sorted, but then they also have a 9v9 all-weather pitch. And when we were signing the contract, planning permission was going through, and the school said, that should be done in a couple of months. So once that's gone through, you'll have that. So it was like perfect. So we planned out, right, this team can use there, that team can use that in the winter. If the grass doesn't work, we've got a backup plan. The planning failed. No, the planning got declined by the local council, because they just saw it as a school trying to monetize the facility for like winter training and things like that, which, they're £750,000 investment. Of course, you need to monetize it because you need to fund the investment, you need to fund the upkeep. The council didn't get it. I'll happily say that, and it got kicked back. So all the hard work we'd done and things we got set in place was in tatters because his planning permission got rejected. So then you go into fight mode.
It's crazy this, because you would think a school with a facility that is required to give kids more opportunities to play more sport. In what world does that get thrown back? And also,
well, I can tell you exactly, because I spent the past 12 months then fighting, planning, building documentation, argumentation, getting signatures.
How did you know how to do that? Did you just pick it up?
Yeah. I've always been a big believer of just do it, pick it up, learn it.
We need to get you a Nike sponsorship.
And basically, so what happened? They put the application through, and they had one resident complain that they wouldn't have any let up from noise. Which, to be fair, I get it. They live by a school. It's being used by a school all day. I'd say don't live by a school if you don't if you don't want that kind of noise. But it is a nice area, and but the issue that we had over that period, because it wasn't being used, children were breaking into it, causing damage, and literally just kicking a ball at a big metal fence. Yeah. So you can imagine that, bang, 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 bang. So I went round and I spoke to every single resident. There's about 10 houses behind this pitch. Spoke to every single resident.
Just knocking on the door?
Yeah. I even found out the one who complained, and I sat them down and I just said, look, at the moment, because they were complaining about teenagers breaking into the garden because the ball was going over the top, being sworn at, being abused. And I'm like, that wouldn't happen if it was used by a grassroots football club in a professional manner. And when the penny dropped, then they were writing letters of support. However, the council was still really fixated on this one comment. So I got that person to kind of write a positive report. So we had to redo all the planning work. I got Football England involved. I got various other agencies involved. I got the Mayor of Huddersfield involved. I got Sport England involved to write. And even that, they were even arguing back with Sport England. So you kind of felt like you was like charging your phone. You was 90% there, then you was back at 70.
Yeah.
And you was always pushing, and in the end, it had to go to a hearing in Huddersfield Town Hall. And to give evidence, you had, I think it was 4 minutes. If your speech went over 4 minutes, cut you off straight away. So I was like practicing. I can talk a lot, as you can tell. I was practicing this 4-minute speech on my phone, and we brought parents in, we brought coaches in. I think we had about 7 people speaking, and I was laid there in bed. And I'll be honest, I work in sales, you feel pressure towards the end of the year if you're not hitting your number. Yeah. What do I do in October? I was laid there in bed like, we need to do more. We need to show the effect that this has, because they just didn't seem to get it. And we were presenting to the council, the planning department, and all the local councillors of Kirklees Council were in this room. And so I looked at all the regulations around it, what you can do, and people can actually apply to sit in on the hearings, and there's no limitation of how many people that you can do. So I got between 40 and 50 parents to stand in the room, quiet, positive, not negative at all, to stare at the councillors. Because if that was a negative decision made, there'd be 40 to 50 pairs of eyes kind of staring at them fiercely. But I made a speech, another person made a speech, and the kind of pinnacle point was one of the parents and made the speech, and we hadn't seen each other's statements, hadn't seen his statement, and she was just saying about how her son has ADHD and autism and plays in mainstream football, and as you were saying, like, that's his get out, that's his part where he's with his friends, he's enjoying himself, and if it wasn't for that,
God knows what they'd be doing.
He'd have absolutely nothing to do. And people in the room were I was like, well, I've got to go on next. I was really tearful at that point, and it hit home. And thankfully, we was granted a planning permission. So it was funny. So about 6 months after, one of the parents said, "Oh, you're so lucky to have these facilities," and I'm like, "Don't I know it?" So it goes back to what you're saying. They don't have a clue of all the hard work and everything that you've had to go through to just to enable somebody to play football. But from another point of view, then that was a pinnacle point for us as a club, because we'd finally got a foundation, an agreement in place that we was at a club with these facilities, and that enabled us then to grow further.
And can I just ask then, just on that, how long did that process take from starting it with the school and then getting knocked back to when you actually got that green light?
So it took 18 months to work with the school to get the actual contract in place, and then it took a further 12 months then to get the planning.
So essentially for 3 seasons pretty much, you couldn't really grow the club or operate the club through no fault of the club's kind of own. As in you can operate it on other facilities that are a bit further afield, but the ones that you wanted in that local area for your local community club, you were blocked by the people who reside in the community.
Correct, yeah.
Welcome to Grassroots football.
That is amazing. Honestly,
it's incredible.
Listening to you tell that story, though, I mean, that could be a film. Like getting all the parents in to give sort of testimony and be present for the decision. I bet decisions like that often don't get that level of mobility from the people.
Have you ever reflected and thought how incredible what an incredible achievement what you've done actually is?
Because it's mad. You've achieved your aim in bringing football back to your village.
You're too humble.
Honestly, it was so stressful. And you talk about anybody that know me, I'd be called a psychopath. Not in a negative way.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Not in a negative way, but like if I get my teeth into something, I don't let go.
Yeah.
And anything that I try to do, I don't want it to be negative. I want it to be positive. I want it to bring positivity. And, I look back at it, and for me, it was just more a fact that it's over. Thank God, because it was so stressful. Like, say, when I thought about getting all the parents in, that was literally me in bed, like 1 o'clock in the morning. Like, if you ask my wife, I struggle to sleep. I do struggle to sleep. And I was laid there like, right, plan A is this, plan B is this, plan C is this. What else can we do to really hit this home? And, that's what came off the back of that. So when it was finally relieved in December, it was just the pressure, it was the pressure's off. Let's now stop fighting and do some exciting stuff that brings benefits, that brings meaningful. And then off the back of that, the year later, we started disability football. We couldn't have done that if we hadn't done everything else prior to that. So it shows that the balancing of things that you have to do. Yeah,
amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about where Linthwaite's at now then? Because we've heard that it's gone from 100 players to 406.
Yeah.
You've brought Linthwaite back to Linthwaite, which is crucial.
Yeah.
Where are you at now? What's the situation with Linthwaite FC, and where's it going?
So, 74 volunteers that all DBS checked. Whatever the FA want, we are fully aligned with everything that the FA has. So we have no parents that aren't DBS checked or anything like that. Everything is by the book, by the line. If any parent ever wants to investigate anything we do, it is 110%. Transparent, and where it needs to be. So we've got 26 teams off the back of that, 3 disability sections, 5 girls teams. We've got a tot section, and then you see some clubs that they'll say they have boys teams. Like every team that we register, bar from the female teams, are mixed. So it still gives opportunity for a girl to come in and play in a mixed team. So we've built a lot with that. Disability has been a huge focus for us for the past two and a half years. Well, not so much disability, but just inclusion, to making sure that we are inclusive and that football is available to everybody. So not just saying it is, but doing something about it. Further to now, we've got 1 open age team. We used to have an adults team previously. That was Saturday League. So it's looking at, we've got another 16s team in a minute that I want them to continue into next season. I really hope we do. I keep saying to the coach,
hardest age group, isn't it?
I keep saying to the coach, please keep these girls in football, because I then want to start an open age women's team.
Yeah.
I just want to increase the pathway. So if somebody starts at under sevens, they can go all the way up. If that's not in football, then it's in coaching, it's in refereeing.
There's so many opportunities, even in like content creation nowadays around grassroots football. It's becoming a whole beast in itself.
Well, I also run our social media.
Of course you do.
And the league's social media, and the bowling club's social media. And last year we hit 1 million views as a grassroots club, which I know it's not huge numbers in the terms of things, but from a little grassroots club,
pretty big.
That's not paid. Yeah, that is literally all organic. And it, if you look at our social media, it is all like transparent, and we talk a lot. We call people out. We do a lot of stuff. We push how we are as a football club, and you see a lot of clubs pushing stuff, but behind the scenes they might not necessarily do that. The way we act online, the way things we promote online is exactly how we are as a club. So, grow. The future, the plans, is to grow further, but just grow organically. We're not chasing a number. It's not about a number, because when you start chasing a number, you lose sight on what you're actually there to do. So it's just to continue that children, adults, wherever that may be, just enjoy being with us. And I've always said, it's funny now because my first team that I took are now 18, 19 years old. I see them in a pub. We started our open age Sunday League team this year. A lot of them have come back into that. And they said to me, we're sorry how we were with you when we were teenagers. We feel really bad about the way we acted when we had in your team. And if you weren't doing stuff right and you didn't treat them with respect and whatever else, they won't be saying that to you. So it's more just, build on what we've got and build good people that will hopefully move on and help things out in the community. And as you say about young volunteers and people coming through from that, hopefully these youngsters at under sevens now, whatever that may be, in 15, 10 years time, will still be involved in the club in some shape, way or form.
Have you had any moments, because obviously you put so much time in and so much hard work, and even though you enjoy it, it's a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
There's got to be some sort of reward at the end, like some feeling that makes it worthwhile. Are there any moments that spring to mind where, apart from obviously that moment where you've got planning permission, what springs to mind in terms of the moments that make it all feel worth it?
So this year so for this season, 25-26, we won West Riding FA's Club of the Year.
Go on.
I was going to bring the award with me.
Yeah.
But
we'll stick a picture up on screen if you stand as a picture.
Yeah. I don't measure it on that.
What do you measure it on?
The positive information that we get back, the stories of what we do as a club help and shape people. If you ask my son Max, who sat behind the scenes, he may say I don't care about the result. The result is one part of football, but it's, if you're a coach and you're shouting and screaming at your players because they lost the game, that you go do something else, because you can't win every single game. But for me, winning is what happens off field, and the things that you do. Like we took our disability team to St George's Park, and we organised a coach to get there. That was a logistical nightmare because we got a price, and then because of what's going on in the world at the moment, the price basically went up by £200 overnight. But we sat on a coach with 15 children within our children disability section. That was so full of energy and enjoyment. And when we got through the gates at St George's Park, driving to the main building, oh my God, the excitement that was thriving off them. Things like that are just, that's what make it worthwhile. Accreditation, we've got the highest, we've won an award as a club, but for me, it's about reputation, doing the right thing, and just ensuring that everybody involved enjoys it, and yeah, like I say, enjoys time with the club and looks back at it when they're adult and just thinks, you know what, I had a really good time doing that. And again, if they see the coach, I always say to my lads now under 13, I say, when you're 18 and you can drink, I've stopped drinking at the minute because I've got that much going on. I need to be sharp. But I said, I hope you feel you can buy me a beer, and that's the same for the other coaches that within the club. When they are old enough, hopefully that player will think, you know what, you helped shape my life, and that's more important than a 1-0 win.
Yeah. If you'll allow me, I do have a post that was put on Facebook. I think it's by your vice secretary. Is it Simon?
Simon, yeah.
Simon, and you might cringe hearing this, but I feel like it says a lot about, it's one thing for you to come on and talk about yourself, but not everyone knows you. And this is for someone who works with you. And I think we know from grassroots committees, there's a bit of bumping heads sometimes and different ideas, but I think this basically sums up you as a person.
I'm intrigued. I'm worried.
You've probably seen it because it was on Facebook, but I'm just going to read this out just for the benefit of everyone else. As a club made up of volunteers who lend their time to learn valuable life skills, learning football and making friends for life, they plant the seed for children to strive at what they do and pursue a career where the pinnacle of anyone's football journey would be to play on the hallowed turf at Wembley. It just so happens that our club secretary, James Carter, has the opportunity to represent our club as part of a special recognition award for his services and contribution to grassroots football. He'll join a select few of other volunteers who have been selected by their county FAs and will take his place on the pitch this evening, under the lights, for a once-in-a-lifetime match opportunity. In the last 6 years with the club, he has brought the club back home to the village of Linthwaite, fought planning permission battles, secured us further facilities, gained us the highest accreditation with the FA, tripled the size of the club, being nominated for 3 FA awards over the last 2 years, coming away with 2 highly recommended and the Club of the Year, being instrumental in winning Club of the Year, introduced and sustainably grown disability football at our club, and helped and assisted other clubs to set up their own disability sections. Lastly, and not at least, his community work at Cone Valley?
Yeah.
Cone Valley, running Santa for the last 6 years, raising money in the various food collections for our local food banks, Cone Valley Help and Storth House CIC, helping to provide for those who really need it. People like him don't come along very often, and we're so lucky to have him so involved within our club. I've said this before and I'll say it again. He's an absolute diamond and will do anything for anybody. Enjoy your day, James. You so richly deserve this. I'm emotional. That.
Standing ovation.
Yeah. I mean, that must be so lovely to hear from someone that you work with, but it shows that there are people around who can see the work put in. It must be nice to have that.
Yeah, I'd mention like psychopath at the end may have been like Simon's great. So to give some curious back
That's
to
your
Simon.
instant response is to say Simon. Yeah.
We've just I'd say I'm a large driving force behind it. But there's not just me. Like I mentioned, we've got 74 coaches that are all doing their little bit to make everything possible. I've just been the crazy one that's run off with an idea and kind of take it off there. So yeah, yeah.
Hard one to respond to. Did you play at Wembley? Yeah.
I went to Wembley. I'd say play loosely, but so Max, my youngest son, came down, and I could also bring somebody with me, and we spoke as a club of who to take, and who do you take when you've got 74 other people that want to go, and we kind of made a decision that your children have missed, you've missed out on a large proportion of your children's life, but they said, like, why don't you take, so my eldest joined me on the pitch, and just to have that moment with him, and I went into the changing rooms, I think just get a bottle of water or something like that, and I walked from the England changing rooms out of the tunnel onto the pitch, and my youngest son Max was just doing keepy uppies in the tunnel, which was like, has that not sunk in?
So surreal.
This is Wembley Stadium, and you're just doing keepy uppies, and it was a strange experience, and I'll be honest. So we've had a lot of injection of sponsorship, just to back, kind of like giving people a sense of pride. So I got a sponsor to sponsor coaches wear for all our coaches, so they felt part of something and have a bit of pride. And the same with players. So I got a sponsor who invested like $7,500 just to provide every single player with a training top for a sense of pride. And I spent most of the time trying to take pictures on the pitch with these two shirts, which when I told people about that, like, you're crazy, you should have just enjoyed the moment. But these people have come on the journey with us. I wanted to give a little bit back to their brands. And on the Saturday, the day after, I was like, it's happened. I felt sad because obviously it had been and gone. But it was such an amazing opportunity. Like I said, I don't know anybody that has walked on Wembley pitch or been at Wembley pitch. My only regret is just before we was kicked off the pitch, because I was literally the last to leave. Myself and my eldest son got a picture in the goals, and it was at the end where Huddersfield Town was promoted to the Premier League. And the next day I was like, we should have done the video. We should have created the video where Chris Schindler scored the penalty. So even though I loved it, I've got a sense of regret.
Next time.
Yeah. Well deserved there. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Amazing. Well, I feel like we've had a really comprehensive conversation. Got to know you, got to know Linthwaite. We're excited to see the progress even further. So much you've already done, but I'm sure as you carry on, there's so much to go as well. Do you want to continue in your role for the foreseeable? What do you hope from your role there, I guess, is my final question.
So I'll be honest, I have had wobbles over the past 2 years where it's got to the end of the season and I've said to the committee, you know what, I'm done. Because we have literally been fighting, and when you are fighting and you're in the trenches and you're fighting against things where you just think
should be easier.
We should be having to do this as volunteers. As where this season it's been, it's kind of, I would say, business as usual, but it's been the first season where we've not had to fight with anything. We've actually been able to just coach and enjoy football. And for me, obviously, I coach my youngest son's team that are under 13. So I'm hoping to God that they will continue and go through. I also do the disability football on Friday night, and there's much more that we can do with that. So there's been no wobbles this season. So next season we have to embrace 3v3. So that's a new kind of format that we're working on. I was a little bit worried about that, to be honest, of how it will work. But with my position with the Huddersfield Junior Football League, we've been given lots of information by the FA. So I'm happy and confident with how that works, and I think it's positive. Any opportunity to give children more time on the ball, just to enjoy football, is the best thing. So I'm looking forward to helping the club push that forward. And to be honest, I've tried to step down twice in 5 years and nobody wants to take it on. So I'm stuck.
Well, I'm sure any Linthwaite parents and committee members listening to this will be very pleased that you're in your post for the foreseeable, and are very grateful to you for everything you've done for their kids as well. So thank you very much for joining us. Best of luck in the future, and we'll definitely keep in touch and check in and see how you're doing.
No, thank you for your time. Thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you,
mate.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for listening and watching the Grassroots Hotline. Remember to like and subscribe, all of that stuff, and we'll be back next time. See you in a bit.